The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. You can finance, buy, protect, and enjoy your auto purchase all from one convenient place. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/car buying.
Welcome back, everybody, to a Team Never Quit podcast episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, and most importantly, thank you for subscribing. We appreciate that. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube yet, you need to get over there and subscribe to that channel. We got short clips from the show as well as full episodes and some other stuff in the works that should be coming out there soon. And with that said, we can't forget our Patreon community out there as we're leading in here to the Patreon question of the day. You guys ready for that? Mm-hmm. Where is the strangest place you have ever had a meeting?
A meeting?
Yeah. That was the Patreon question of the day.
Well, that's weird. I don't think I've had a meeting in a weird place.
That's what I was thinking too. I don't know.
Other than during quarantine
right.
At the ranch, having meetings like on the porch at the ranch, and Marcus would have like a suit top and then swim shorts and flip-flops on.
So I had a rally up underwater underneath an aircraft carrier. We had a meeting and a debrief underneath there.
That's
so
weird.
The situation, It was weird. Yeah, there's a couple of them.
I was
anytime underwater.
Like
underwater.
Yeah.
We've had them. We have them underwater for sure.
Yeah.
And then
how do you talk to each other?
You can't believe it.
Well, how is it?
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's grunts, groans, signals, hand signals, pressure points, pressure on the body to communicate. It's just like it's a different kind of sign language altogether. JJ and I were talking about this the other day. I was like, man, you know that they spent underwater for 5 years, 6 to 8 hours. I mean, we got everything done. We lived. I couldn't believe it.
So is that why you grunt at me? You're actually trying to talk to me?
I think it happens unnatural because when the lights go out and it's completely dark, and because I would fall asleep underwater. I mean, that's a thing. And then I was just trying to communicate. Wow, you're not getting them?
I'm supposed to understand those.
Well, I'm hoping after all these years. No, but yeah, so underwater would be mine.
Okay.
Awesome.
What
about you?
Oh, me. Probably the trunk of a car.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
We gotta hear that story. Yeah, that's
We'll
definitely the
need to get into
best. Yeah.
You win.
Yeah. All right. We'll get into that story. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we'll have to hear that.
Patreon.
Thank you, Patreon, for that question of the day. Y'all are always out there bringing us interesting questions, and we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it coming, guys. Today, we have a great guest in store. Tracy Walder went from sorority girl to CIA staff operations to stopping biological terror plots worldwide to an author of the book Unexpected Spy, which reveals how she tracked chemical terrorists and searched the world for weapons of mass destruction. Tracy has also shifted from her undercover overseas life in the CIA to working counterintelligence here back in the States for the FBI. And now I believe you're actually teaching. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That is amazing. That is quite the accolade story there, from, I guess, essentially spy to teacher.
FBI agent.
Yeah, FBI agent to teacher. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So we got to hear all about
It's
that.
actually great. It's a great story. If you back up every American life and play it out like it's a script, there's some people down here that have great ones.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, to get started. Thank you again for doing this.
Yeah.
But the outline of your life is amazing to me, and I know a lot of people love hearing. I mean, they make great movies about stuff like that, actually. So I just want to back it up to how this all started. So where do you come from?
If you could just back it up to like your childhood, where'd you grow up, and that kind of stuff. Okay.
Sure. So, I guess maybe can I just back it up to I guess a question?
However you want. Yeah.
A question I get asked a lot that I think will help explain the career path or lack thereof of wanting. I was born in the 70s, and so growing up, it was a different time. We didn't have pop culture like we do today with Homeland and all those SEAL team shows.
Right.
We just didn't have that. And so I always get the question, did you want to do this? And the answer is no, not in some kind of a rude way, but I really didn't have anything that showed me that this was a career path to have, if that makes any sense.
Sure,
I think
absolutely.
now, a lot of people know that these are career paths you can explore. So for me, so I was born with a developmental disability called Hypotonia. So I still have it. basically it's low muscle tone. It's like a precursor to cerebral palsy, and they still don't really have a cure for it. So I didn't like roll over until I was 1. I didn't walk until I was 3. So sometimes it's fatal in people because the muscle is obviously a heart. A heart is obviously a muscle.
Right.
Excuse me. And so for me though, it was just low muscle tone. And so obviously I began walking and all of that. And I think the doctor was like, well, whatever, she won't be an athlete, but it's fine. It doesn't affect your brain or anything like that. And so I started in about 3rd grade to be pretty horrifically bullied. Like kids would trip me on purpose. I'm always going to be a clumsy person. But I don't think people would necessarily know that like I have the condition, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was sort of my childhood. I grew up in Southern California. My dad is a former Navy, is a Vietnam vet. Both my grandpas are World War II vets, and both my great grandpas are.
Oh,
World
yeah.
War
So you come from a warrior family.
You come
Yeah,
from
right. Check.
stock.
That makes sense. All right, go ahead. Yeah,
No pressure.
yeah, right.
And so I think, I don't know that I ever thought the military would be a path for me because again, there just weren't a lot of like women representation in it, but I just kind of always knew that service was like a path for me, whatever that like looked like, I guess. And so I was bullied like really horrifically, but my dad is a huge history buff. And so he'd always give me books to read. And I just came to really love history. And so my junior year of high school, I had a really influential teacher who sort of helped me come out of my shell. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to major in history and I'm going to be just like this teacher. And so I applied to the one school where I went for free because that's where my dad was a professor. And so
That's good thinking.
Well, I mean, free tuition.
That's great. Yeah, good thinking.
Yeah. And USC is not a cheap school. And so to go there for free, it was pretty awesome. And so I got in and, I guess sort of the rest is history, but if you want, I can talk a little bit about how I decided on.
Oh yeah, we need to hear all that.
Yeah,
We talk about USC too. One of my best friends is a strength coach there now for the football team. So I'm a recently added fan of USC.
So my dad went there, my aunt went there, and my great grandpa went there. So we are like a huge. And my dad is obviously a retired professor from there. So we are big Trojan fam.
I love it.
I'll obviously have to bring up 2005 when University of Texas and that's our only thing. That's all I can go to. It's funny. But all right. So do you have siblings? Do you have sisters, brothers, or anything? Is it just...
I have a brother.
Okay, older or younger?
He is 2.5, 3 years younger.
Is he in the business too, or did he do different path?
So I take more after my dad. And my brother, he's not feminine by any stretch of the imagination. He is super into math, super into computers, president of his fraternity, lives his best life, uber social, a dude's dude.
Yeah. Love it.
One of them guys, everything's like, oh, that's cool. He does that. That's cool. That's cool.
A more traditional kind of like lifestyle path, if that makes any sense. He doesn't want anything to do with government work, and it's not a bad thing. That's just who he is. Right. I took more after my dad, I guess, in that sense.
Love it. Okay, so tell us about how you got started into on that path.
So to orient the audience, I don't know how old you all are, but like I grew up with terrorism being Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Waco, like that was my version of terrorism because again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? Not a pre 9/11 world. And so I did not have a lot of exposure to foreign terrorism. Yes, we had bombings in Nairobi, Tanzania, those had happened. But I think for me, when you're young, you're like, oh, that's over there, right? Like I didn't necessarily understand the problem here, if that makes any sense. And yes, we had the World Trade Center bombing in 93. But again, it was not obviously on that sort of broad scale. And Al-Qaeda wasn't even formed until 89, right? So,
I remember them brushing over that.
Mm-hmm. And
I remember them brushing over that. We're the same age. We're 78s too. So I call us 78s. We're born in the 1900s. We're a unique generation.
Gen X.
Yeah, Gen X. There you go. Right. Yeah.
Gen X.
And I remember when that happened, mean, they showed a picture of it, right? But it was just like smoke bellowing out of that garage.
Right.
And then,
I do not remember the first World Trade Center bombing. I just don't. I don't know where I was at that time, but
They really didn't focus on
yeah.
it.
I do remember the Oklahoma City bombing. That was I think
Waco, I
because
remember
I
that.
lived in Texas, like they showed it more.
OJ thing went down.
Yeah, I mean,
that was in the 90s, right?
Like I was in Newport Beach, California, and even there we weren't really focused. Yes, I remember seeing what happened with the World Trade Center, but like you said, it was just kind of glossed over. We spent a lot of time at Oklahoma City and Waco. It was just, I think we didn't understand it quite yet.
Well, that's a great way of saying that. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
It was before technology as well. I mean, it was kind of there, but we're the ones that brought that in.
Yeah.
As soon as we came of age, I didn't get my first phone, I don't think, till we were in the military. That was in the early 20s, right?
I didn't get it until
I didn't have a computer
until
I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
I think I was maybe 20 or 20, something. And it was big, it was like a big.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it didn't go with you. That's for dang sure.
And my parents being like, do not use this unless you're stuck on the side of the road bleeding.
Oh, yeah. With the bag phone, too. Like, don't even crank it up. You crank that thing up.
Expensive. Like for a call.
That's right.
And I just remember that being, that was the thing.
Yeah. I didn't even have that. I had to wait until it was, I think I was 23 or 24. I was born in 79. And I did not have I had a child before I had a phone. So I was
that's a great way of saying
a single mom driving around my baby without a cell phone.
Without a phone.
And everything was fine.
And I would stop at payphones.
Great, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
The phones were connected to the wall. They just had a long string. Cord with it. All right. So when did you start? Because you're right. Back in the 1900s, they didn't have documentaries. I mean, if you were in front of a TV, it was lucky to. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I majored in history at USC, right? Like, because I was going to be a high school history teacher. And, I was struggling in one of my classes and I had to keep a really high GPA to keep that full, tuition remission that I had from my dad. And so I went to meet with my professor, who actually was the dean of the entire liberal arts school. And, he's like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I was like, I'm a history major. You just teach with that. And he's like, dude, there's other stuff you can do. And he printed me out a list and I started doing things that looked interesting on it. And so I interned at a museum. That was actually a lot of fun. I interned for a senator.
I don't think I've ever met anybody who's actually done that.
It was really fun.
Was it? I bet it was, right? Intern for a museum.
Yeah. Write those little, blurbs that explain, underneath. I interned for a senator. And I really enjoyed that. But nothing really stuck with me, in terms of wanting to depart from that history path.
Yeah.
I guess to go back a little bit. So I grew up, it's not like this now, but where I grew up, I was really the only person of my religion in my school. And so I knew that I don't want to say different, but I knew people didn't love us because every time I went into my place of worship, I had to go through a metal detector and there were police officers.
Oh my gosh.
And so I just knew that we were different versus, I'd go to socials at my friends' churches and you just sort of walk right in, right? It wasn't. So I just knew we were different. And I knew the Middle East was this tumultuous place, but I don't think my parents ever really explained that to me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have an understanding, but I think I was interested because I didn't understand why there was conflict, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so in 1997, I was working out and CNN did the first and only interview with a Western news station with Osama bin Laden. And I watched it. And during that interview, he issued his fatwa or declaration of war against the US, but being the self-centered 19-year-old, he also issued a declaration of war against Jews. And so I actually am Jewish. And so when I heard that, I thought, oh, that's me, right? Because you're just self-centered and the world revolves around you, I guess, when you're 19. Is this why there's problems? Is this guy creating the problems, right? I just didn't understand where it came from. And so I wanted to learn more. And so I know USC is a great school, but again, at the time, which I know might sound silly to some younger folks, there were not classes you could take in terrorism or national security. And so I took Middle Eastern history. I took Intro to Islam. I took international relations. I tried to take anything I could. to, I guess, learn more about it. And that's when I really became very interested, but I couldn't find anyone to help me. And I didn't know if I was interested in this terrorism thing. Like, what do you do with that? Where do you work? Which I know today sounds so silly, but this was like 1998.
I don't know about you guys, but summer has been insane this year. Between work and life just in general, I have not had as much time as I would like to be getting in the workouts. And it's easy to fall out of good habits like exercising, especially when fun season turns into busy season, but putting off working out now leads to the same old New Year's resolution to get back in shape. And it's this terrible revolving cycle. I know we've all been there. There's nothing like going back to the gym at the beginning of the year, and that place is packed. Well, Fitbot, our podcast sponsor today, they have a smart workout app that scientifically tailors an exercise program to your goals, your equipment, your schedule, so you can keep your full calendar and your summer gains. You guys probably don't know this about me, but I've actually had this roller coaster of weight loss, weight gain pretty much my entire life. It's something I've experienced. It's been a big struggle of mine personally, and it could be challenging. It's really frustrating to know what you need to do to see results, but between life and all the craziness going on, you just start being inconsistent. It's not a good excuse. Obviously, we got to get it done, but the Fitbot app is probably one of the most revolutionary apps I've ever seen specifically for fitness. The way that the app works, I want to kind of tell you about some of my favorite things. One, you can set up multiple gym profiles. So give you an example, I've got my house gym set up where I don't have a lot of equipment. I have a bench, I have some dumbbells, I have a treadmill, I have some bands. That's basically all I have at the house. Whereas when I go to the actual gym, I have a full gym at my, disposal, racks and pretty much anything you get at a gym. I got it. So I've got both of those profiles set up so that no matter where I'm at, I can actually have the app tailor a workout scientifically for me based on the equipment that I have. You can get a workout in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. You can specify your goals. If there's an exercise you see there that's really just not right for you, you can easily write and hold swipe it, and you can actually swap that out with a different exercise. So say your lower back's hurting and maybe that workout that day you're like, I probably shouldn't push it. You can quickly swap out any of the exercises that they've got as a part of your plan for that daily workout. I mean, this is an incredible app. It makes it super easy to plan a workout. You open up the app, boom, there's your workout for the day. It's got interval cycles set up. It's got your, if you want to do a cardio warm up, or do you want to do a cool off, meaning you can set all of these things in the app. It is pretty freaking cool. I seriously think it's probably the easiest ways to work out, whether it's at the gym or at home. Fitbot's smart workout app creates a custom dynamic exercise program based on your goals, experience, and equipment, then varies your routine to avoid overtraining. One of my other favorite features is I've hired a lot of personal trainers in my lifetime, and one of the hardest things you have is on the days that you don't work out with your trainer, sometimes it can be hard to remember what you worked out. Well, there's an actual section in the app that says recovery. You can actually see all of the areas you've worked out for that week, the different muscle groups. That way okay, maybe I did this at the house this week, so when I go to the gym, I'm gonna do something different, switch it up. Or maybe you went and worked out with some buddies at the gym, and you have a way to track that workout and then go back home and know what other areas you do so you don't over fatigue. Their algorithm uses data and analytics to scientifically build your best next workout, maximize your results. You can see your muscle usage, your recovery, your achievements, and your workout streaks all in the app, and you're in control with workouts designed just for you so you get exactly what you need. And I promise you, it is certainly way cheaper than a personal trainer. For less than the cost of one session with a personal trainer, you can get a full year of personalized workouts with Fitbot, and I promise you I know that to be true because I have hired trainers in the past. Fitbot works on your iOS and your Android devices. The app is super easy to use. They've got video tutorials that make learning new exercises a breeze if you're looking to just level it up, especially right now's the time, right? We still have a whole 4 months before the end of the year, 3-4 months, which means you have time to start making changes now so that you're not sitting there at the beginning of the year saying, oh, new year, new me. No, new year, new you right now. Keep your workout momentum going. Get personalized workouts from Fitbot. They get tougher as you do. Get 25% off your subscription or try out the app for free when you sign up now at fitbod.me/TNQ. That is 25% off your subscription, or try it free at fitbod.me/TNQ. It's really important, guys. If you want to check it out for free, make sure you head over to their website first, fitbod.me/TNQ. Take advantage of that 25% off your subscription.
Oh, we're the
And
ones
the-
that invented that. I mean, even if
What?
it was just a thought process in the beginning, we're the ones that had to lay the outline for it.
Yeah. And there just wasn't, and everyone always thinks it's so silly when I say this, but like that really was the truth of the time.
Yeah.
Right. And so
How crazy is that to think about that?
yeah, it's very crazy to think about a pre 9/11 world, I guess, not post, but pre. And so I knew I had heard about this thing called the CIA, and I knew that they did foreign stuff. Right. But I'm not sure I associated them with like, we didn't even have a new James Bond, I don't think, at that point. I think it was
yeah, we didn't.
Sean, I think it was still Sean Connery, who is obviously an incredible actor, but
awesome.
Like, I don't see myself in that necessarily, right? And so I went to a career fair, and there was a table. The CIA openly recruits at schools.
Oh yeah,
considered a new thing. And I remember asking the recruiter, I said, "Do y'all work terrorism?" And he's like, "Oh, it's a very small, group that we have that does that. We're really looking for Russian speakers and Spanish speakers.
Yeah.
Those are our two AOIs right now."
Because Colombia, right? Colombia back then.
So
Yeah,
Colombia,
right.
a little bit of like Guatemala and
That's
Honduras,
right.
I think, at the time, and then obviously Russia. And I don't speak either of those languages, right? And those weren't areas I was particularly interested in. But I thought, whatever, I'll give you my resume, and whatever, maybe you'll call. And I know, like, sometimes people are like, she's so flippant about it. I'm not. This is just like how it was at the time. I don't know any other way to.
No, it's the best way to explain it so people will know if they're getting in it. Because if you explain it any other way, then people are like, well, that could never happen to me. I'm like, well, that's because they didn't say it the way. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and people that are younger than us do not understand how things worked in the late 90s. Like, I graduated in 97, and I had to hand write my college applications.
Yes.
It was, and you had to like do it over and over and over again.
Yes.
If you wanted to apply to 10 schools, you were filling out 10 packets of and making photocopies of all of your transcripts.
You didn't have time to do anything else. He was always writing something.
Nowadays, because we have a 24-year-old that just graduated from college. There is one website. You fill out one application, and you just click what schools you want it to go to. It's so easy.
It's called the Common App.
Right?
Is that true? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's so easy. But back then, it was so hard, and a lot of people just didn't do things that were hard.
I mean, it makes sense, and like Marcus was saying, like I like to share that because, like you said, I wasn't some crazy achiever with connected parents and, all of that. Like, that's not how I got where I got, right? Like, yes, I had a good GPA. I had to because my parents couldn't afford to keep me there, right? If I didn't, stay there. And so they called, obviously the CIA called clearly. And, I began the process, but as
all right. So this is a cool story too. What's that call like when they come over? Did they do the secret with the newspaper? We're like, hey, we're here to recruit you for the.
No, so they don't recruit you. They called my room, obviously, and again, my cell phone wasn't used for that purpose. I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. So they called the landline in my room, and it was my roommate who actually answered.
That's even better story. It's the CIA. They want to talk to you. I mean, what do you? Because there's a couple of agencies that they ring your phone, you're like, and if someone else answers, it's actually great when they do because the look on their face.
Yeah, and they called, and then you sort of begin the process, right? There's all these different hoops. I guess you could say that you sort of jump through, and then they have cuts, right? In each of those hoops, very similar to the SEALs, I'm sure. And I made it through all of the hoops, I guess.
That is so awesome.
What was that? Was that scary? What was it? What was it? It's exciting, right? Exhilarating.
Frustrating, I think, would be the better.
Whole time?
No. Where it got frustrating is, and I talk about this in my book, the part where I almost quit, like stopped it, was the polygraph. I got really mad and like really annoyed. So I think that part was frustrating.
Good Lord, we were watching Meet the Parents the other day, and we were.
Oh, when he has to take the lie detector?
When he stumbles into that freaking room and he straps him up to that lie detector. That's a great scene.
Yes.
I love it. The box is one thing altogether. It's just funny to watch people go. I mean, it's funny now. When back in the day when you get strapped up and you're young and you don't know anything, you got those moments of truth and everything. I forgot about all that, man. It is nerve wracking. You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot you were going to have to go through that part.
I've never had to take a polygraph, but I have thought about if I would ever have to take one, and I get so nervous when anyone thinks I did something wrong. I'm sure my nerves would be like this because it's almost like self-inflicted guilt. I don't know what that is about me, but I get so nervous when it comes to something like that because I'm always like, they're going to think I did something just because I'm nervous. Is that how it was for you?
No, it was just very frustrating. Like all the questions and it was frustrating.
Yeah. How long was it?
So the first one was about 8 hours and then the second one was about 3.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine being in a room 8 hours going through something like that.
It's like a day of school.
Yeah. That sounds frustrating.
I know when you think about it, it's like, how do you relate to that? It's like a day of school.
Yeah,
Sitting there
very
all day
true.
long. No breaks.
Yeah, no breaks. Well,
Sure, you get a bathroom break.
that's funny. All right. So when they call from the time they call to the time you're activated is how long?
Oh, I mean, it was very short for me. It was like a year because my background didn't take a long time to do because I was so young, obviously. Right. You don't have a lot of skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
And the ones you do in there, that's not the ones they care about. Doing dumb stuff as kids.
No, like partying in my sorority.
Oh, right. I mean, most people get that's right. A lot of the stuff that the young kids that you worry about at that age, that's not the stuff they're looking for.
No, they didn't
at all. Matter of fact, they're really good at that stuff. Everybody I worked with from the agency, man, they were professional at everything. I mean, everything.
Partying.
Yeah, they have a good time too, man. You got to. All right, go. So we're transferring in.
Yeah. So your acceptance to the CIA. Let's go from there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm not good about talking about myself a whole lot. I graduated college, but like May of 2000-ish, something like that. And then I EOD'd like a couple weeks later at the agency.
Yeah.
And I guess I got really lucky because I was put in the counterterrorism center. Yay.
Yeah.
But that's right before, that was still before 2001.
I like to tell people I was there before it was cool.
Well, yeah, that's a great way to say it.
And, people are like, oh, you must have been amazing to get put there. I was like, no, that was where they put all the people that weren't good because all the seasoned people were like the head of the Russian division.
Yeah.
So
because we talk about that in the communities, like trying to chase something down. Like I want to go in here. I want to try. Man, that's how you obviously don't wind up getting it. Usually, all the guys we laugh about it. You can't chase those battles, man. You just kind of you got to get put. Yeah, they got to let them come to you, man. You get put in there, and it's usually in those environments where nothing was going down. That's the same way it was for us.
That's like you going into SDV when you first got in.
Yeah.
The last place he wanted to go was a division called SDV, and nowadays, it's really hard to get into. People want to go into SDV.
I started out in special deliveries, which is the craziest thing. It's a hard because the attention was elsewhere. I came in 2002, right before that.
In 2000.
Yeah. And so I remember the transition going on too, all of it, and it happened fast. It's almost like there weren't any rules on us because we got hit. Man, they punched us. So guys are like, just go get them. Like, okay, roger that. Cool, man, we got you.
So what was that like pre 9/11 being in counterterrorism?
This is going to sound so strange. It was weirdly normal. It was just like a normal work day, right? Like, I was obviously waiting to go to the farm, because I was on the ops side, and you have to go to head. It's the reverse of the FBI. So CIA, you spend time at HQ first, then you go to the FBI. You spend basically it was weirdly normal, right? You went to work, you came home. You went to work, you came home. Like that was just what you did, and my job was to try to get as much information as possible on terrorist training camps. Were
you at Langley?
I'm sorry?
We're at Langley.
Mhm.
Just cool. It's cool saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is. That
Yeah.
word just rolls out. Like when you hear it, I don't care where you're like, oh.
So
really?
how does a young lady get information on terrorist training camps pre 9/11 when you don't even know what all of that really is? Are they prepping you and giving you assignments to go for, or are you just trying to figure things out yourself?
I think you're trying to figure things out as much as you can. I can't divulge too much about, sources and methods.
Sure,
or
yeah,
I'll get in
absolutely.
trouble.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. We get it.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But, it's interesting because I've served in 13 different countries. And I mean, most of them not ones that you would consider hospitable, to women. And I've never had a problem except for in one country. And it wasn't me. They were pissed off at our chief of station and they just took it out on me, and so, I never had a problem.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough.
So tell
Makes
us
you great at
about
your trait
being in the trunk story then.
Oh, well, that's a ways into the career. And so that would have been after September 11th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would have been.
I remember when that happened. Because I had heard Osama bin Laden a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Not even really. And our main focus was, man, we weren't even on Russia either. We were on something completely different. But the day that happened, or the day after, like when everyone got unified, when those flags came up and everything started moving, our organization and y'all's organizations when I got inundated with the money. And they was like, hey man, you guys go and get it. And I remember getting the intel, just like you said, because you read or watch a movie. Like we try to watch a movie on something or read something on the country and how things are the way they are. And when we say we get intel, it's like the best way to do that, imagine going and living in a neighborhood somewhere that you're not from and trying to learn the slang and just the vibe. Like just trying to learn the vibe. Like there's certain things, yeah, you can do them, but you don't, right? And that was what we had to figure out. That takes a lot.
It was weird, I guess, obviously being at headquarters on September 11th in the Counterterrorism Center. I mean, we took a lot of crap for it, obviously, and, we got blamed, and I think a lot of us feel like it's our fault, and, it's not. I understand that, but, you kind of go through all of that, but there wasn't any time to really be upset. And I had just been read into a program a week before September 11th that wasn't supposed to start until the spring of 2002. And then that started the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that it was myself and two other guys. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A lot. But it was fun, I guess. We were truly the tip of the spear, I guess, in terms of
yeah.
Yeah. 3 people.
I mean, everything I forgot about that. When that happened, everybody shifted their focus straight to y'all.
I can't say what the program is. They still won't let me, but it's in my book. Parts of it are redacted and it's called The Vault. But it was myself and two other guys. We were the very first people to actually work it, which is now that I think about it, I don't think I fully understood what that meant at the time, obviously. But we were definitely at the tip of the spear in terms of the war in Afghanistan. And I mean, the room we worked in was so small, and the president and everyone was in there every day, all day. And it was just a lot.
That's a great story, actually.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
We were trying, a couple of my buddies and I were talking about this the other day. And you can watch this stuff that we did on TV or you can read about it, but there's a missing element. That the chaos factor, when that's dropped on you, like when we have to go through that and you're spun up. But especially when everyone's activated, you can feel it. And that after over time, we got good at it. So that kind of mellowed down. We got our battle rhythm, but there was nothing like that first couple of years, man. It was just, I don't even remember a lot of it.
I talk in my book a bit about December 2001, working that night on that program, and having bin Laden in our sights, but not being able to do anything about it was really upsetting, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Golly, that's crazy. We don't want to get you in trouble, so only say what you're totally comfortable with, and just know that we can edit out anything
don't worry about that.
you. If you do say anything,
no, I know what I can.
Edit
Writing a book is good, right? Because then I know what I can and can't.
Yeah.
About. But the whole Bin Laden stuff, I do detail that, and that's been cleared by the agency.
Oh yeah, well they love hearing. Our people love hearing that story.
Yeah.
That when there's a couple of those events that we've all gone through, like when everyone's involved, especially with this one and you from the time you started it to the time we took them down.
That's true. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, it was frustrating, and it's weird because the agency won't let me talk about the program in specific that I worked. But if you read the chapter, it's become, in my opinion, very clear what it was.
Sure.
Okay.
But it's whatever. If that's what makes them happy, then I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah.
So what did your career end up looking like post 9/11?
My career ended up looking really weird because we couldn't be gone at the farm for like 5 months because, we were the only ones that were there like pre-September 11th. And so my training was like really piecemeal, right? So I would go to defensive driving for 3 weeks and then come back and then go overseas and then go to like small arms training and then go back and then go overseas, right? Because it was just, for them, it was just better, right? Which is completely fine. I enjoyed it. But after I stopped working that program, because we were working like 22 hours a day and they're just like, no more. It had been going on for like 4 months. And so they rotated us off. And then I got moved to a new group that was formed in the Counterterrorism Center because they formed all these different groups called CTC WMD. And our bosses, so my boss was the chief of station Moscow.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
really?
He was brought back.
Yeah, brought back. What do you think about that? Was he upset about it or was he?
No, he was the best boss I've ever had in my life. But it was just funny because now all of a sudden, this Russia branch was so great, right? They brought them all back and moved them to counterterrorism. And he was just the most incredible boss I've ever had in my life. He was like absolutely fantastic. And so it was that was chaired by him, and his deputy was his deputy in Moscow station as well. But they had all been PNG'd when a guy named Robert Hansen leaked their names. And so they were all brought back.
All right, guys, here's some information that you need to pay attention to, especially if you're 50 or older. Did you know that Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance provides valuable whole life insurance protection to help cover your final expenses? It's true, and it can help with expenses such as medical bills, burial costs, and unpaid debts. It helps protect your family from the financial burden of your final expenses. If you're between 50 and 80 years old or 50 to 75 in New York, your coverage is guaranteed with this policy, regardless of your health history. There are no medical exams to complete or lengthy health questionnaires to fill out. Simply visit GerberLifeFamily.com. And premiums don't increase over time. The amount you pay when coverage begins is the same amount you'll pay throughout the duration of your policy. Just answer 4 easy questions to get your free personalized quote instantly by visiting GerberLifeFamily.com. See website for terms and restrictions.
From there, am I talking too much? I'm sorry.
No, we want you to talk. Keep talking. Yeah, it's a podcast.
I mean, you got to get used to it. You're going to be doing it a lot. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point.
No, but so I worked CTC WMD, and my job was mostly like crude toxins and poisons, ricin, botulinum, anthrax, like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And my target was a guy named Zarqawi, who I also like to say I worked him before he was cool, because he went and founded, obviously, ISIS. But prior to that, he was one of the things Bin Laden, I mean, I'm obviously not giving him credit, but one of the things he was like good at was creating franchises and branches of
real good at it. You can give him credit for that. So, you can give him credit for being good at that stuff because they're masterful at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Zarqawi was his poison. The two of them hated each other, but I think Bin Laden was like, but you are good at stuff, so let me put you in charge of this. So obviously he became our enemy number one, I guess. Yeah. And so our job was to get as much information that we could from sources on him, any poison attacks that might be coming up. That was our job. So that meant going overseas and talking to people and and doing. So that was my primary focus the whole time that I worked there.
Wow. I do remember when the anthrax thing was such a huge, like, everybody was scared to open a letter at one point.
Oh, that was right after September 11th.
Yeah, it was just because of 9/11, it was like, what's next? And it was thought to be the anthrax was next, that anyone could just get it in the post office. So they would say, don't lick the envelopes. Use those little envelope glue guns. And I remember that specifically. That was a huge deal for those younger than us that didn't experience that. It was a real fear. I don't know if it was a real threat, but it was a real
every
fear.
Year.
Huh?
Now that I think about it, it's like something new every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then, think about it. Right after the bombings, it wasn't really a fear that they were going to hit more buildings. It was a fear that we were going to get poisoned somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good times.
So you went over there to research this, basically.
No, I went over there to recruit human assets to give us information and to gain information that I could from folks that we had already caught who might be able to tell us when the next attack was.
Did you get any information from women, or can you say that?
No, never from women.
Yeah, it was always men. And you would think that would be really hard because they do not respect women like
they do. I think we have maybe a misconception of how they are portrayed in the media sometimes. And I mean, there's disrespectful people here, right? Some of the most disrespectful men to me have actually been here.
Yeah.
Not overseas, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, there's been a bad light shined on everybody, actually. That war does that. War does that.
Yeah, I never had an issue ever. Not once. Like truly ever. And then I know that, I mean, this probably sounds terrible, but if they did estimate me or whatever, I use that to my advantage. That's not my problem. Like that's their problem.
The best thing.
Yeah.
The more unassuming you are, the better.
I mean, my job is to manipulate people to give me information. And so it worked well for me.
God,
I never had an issue.
First guy got a hold of me in y'all's profession. I sat down at lunch, didn't even know what was happening, dude. I mean, by the end of it, I was eating fried chicken and being like, oh, my mother does this. And I was like, I was in uniform. And he was the best dude. And he's just so happy, right? He had the best smile on his face, man. It just kind of, y'all are real good at that.
Well, and I never had, I worked with SEAL Team 6 a lot, what I was doing. And
are you the one that got the rosary?
No.
Okay, just checking.
They were always so amazing to me. And I mean, I never had issues, ever, with men, ever. In any culture.
Some of the interrogation, my dad always said, if you want to get something out of somebody, just get them drunk. They'll tell you whatever they like you. They'll tell you what you want. They hate you. They'll tell you that. They'll tell you everything.
That's true.
He's like, literally, if you get buddy with him and just feed that. My dad, he gets some information out of folks. But I'm gonna beat the hell out of people. I mean, SEALs waterboard ourselves with alcohol, like with tequila and stuff, just for fun. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that happen before with us. We do some crazy stuff. Anything we do to the bad guys, we do to ourselves for fun. But yeah, the best way is the unassuming. Laugh it out in conversation.
They were great. I really had no issues, ever.
That's cool. All right, go ahead. You got two, so on the desk of Bin Laden and Zarqawi.
So I stopped sort of focusing on Bin Laden when I was moved to the WMD group. And then obviously my focus at that point was Zarqawi because there was another group working Bin Laden.
Oh.
That makes sense.
It was all. I remember that when the WMT, I was on one of those teams. When we first came out, when I was first over, some of my primary missions were for y'all.
Was that in Iraq?
Yes, ma'am.
So I didn't work Iraq.
Oh, okay. We were searching
Those were two different groups. The counter-proliferation group is what worked WMD in Iraq. We worked terrorists who were using it. So we're talking more North Africa, Afghanistan, and some other Middle Eastern places. Everywhere but Iraq. We did not work Iraq.
So you got full benefit then.
I've never been to Iraq.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Then you got full benefit because Northern Iraq and Afghanistan, man, that's hard territory.
Yeah. So
I can't unfortunately say what countries I went to.
I get it. No, I get it. There's no problem with that, man. I can tell when that happens when I'm trying to ask you something. You're like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, all right, shift.
Because I was on the offside.
I get it. No, I'm sorry.
When I went overseas, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell us what you can about the next step. So after Zarqawi, where'd you go from there?
And are you getting to pick
actually,
your
that's when I decided
destinations
to
after
leave.
that?
What?
Are you getting pretty senior now? Are you getting to choose your destinations after this, or is this still? I mean, it's still going.
If you were in the counterterrorism center, you were not. It didn't matter if you were like a branch chief. Like you were not like picking.
Just wherever you need to go.
Where you go. But yes, I was like a pre-manager, I think, at that point. But I made the decision, and I always think that it was like a super mature decision to leave because I loved it there. Like I said, I loved my boss. I loved my colleagues. I had lots of awards. I was being promoted so quickly. Like I have nothing bad to say about my job there, but I didn't want to live overseas anymore. I was totally burnt out, which I mean, given the work we were doing is kind of expected.
So are you married by now?
I'm sorry?
Were you married?
No. Mm-mm.
Single life, right?
I got married pretty late.
Okay. So yeah, single life while you were in though, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. And so I made the decision that I loved the counterterrorism like mission. And so I wanted to work, in one place and stay kind of stateside. And so that's when I made the decision to become a special agent at the FBI. So I left the CIA on like a Friday and I reported to Quantico on Monday.
Oh my God.
All right. So is that as easy as shifting in the military, or is there some more difficulty behind that? You can just walk away from the other one. Did you let them know that was happening or what?
Of course. I left under, like I said, they gave me an award the day I left, as well as a money bonus. Like, the CIA could not have been more supportive of me. They were not happy, obviously, to see me like go. Mm-hmm. I'm still friends with all of my colleagues, to this day. But, I think they understood the reasons and that it was never going to change. Like, that's what the CIA does. Right. And so I wasn't trying to like escape a boss or something like that. It was just,
No, I know, but we have some guys that were in the Marine Corps that came over in the SEAL teams. It's just tough, especially if you're squared away. Mm-hmm. Like, so if you're real squared away, you're usually your units won't let you go. But if you're a shitbag, then they don't want to send you to the other side. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a happy medium.
So I don't think I was a shitbag, but maybe I was.
No.
But CIA,
I didn't say that.
CIA and FBI are two different organizations, right? And so they don't have a choice. Like, if you want to leave, you can leave, right? Mm-hmm. And so I made, like I said, the decision to leave, but CIA is an intelligence collection organization. That is what they do overseas, period, the end. That is their mission. That is how they were set up. The FBI is a law enforcement organization in the United States. That's their mission. That's how they were set up. Those are two very different things. Mm-hmm. And the two agencies really hate each other.
Absolutely.
They hate each other?
Absolutely.
Well, so I was naive and didn't understand it because we had two agents detailed to the counterterrorism center when I was there, Doug and Mark. And Doug and Mark were actually awesome and worked really well with all of us, right? And so I had a mentality that everyone would be like Doug and Mark, right? Because I just assumed, that they're what I met of the Bureau.
Right.
Right. And so that's what I assumed.
But it wasn't like that
Alabama,
when you got there.
Auburn. It's a competition. It's, I don't know, especially in the beginning when everyone was vying with us. When you would go in, everyone was vying for something. They were trying to get their place, and then once you got in there, then you had to establish yourself. You'd be surprised. But then the best is when we're away from the flagpole, and you get guys out there from different agencies. Man, we wouldn't even know that. They just stick us in there in civilian clothes. No one identified themselves. You just knew their name, even if you knew their damn name. We know people for 30 years don't even know their name. They just call signs and nicknames. But the best people, the best people, absolutely.
So what was FBI like?
Pretty horrible.
Oh, no.
Well, I think part of the problem, I guess this goes back to leadership, right? And management style. Like I said, at the agency, I had nothing but remarkable bosses and leaders. But then at the Bureau, the head of the academy did not like the fact that I was from the agency at all, and made my life a living hell. He put me, for every scenario we had in Hogan's Alley, I had to be the leader for everything, like made my life a living hell. But I passed every test. You know, a lot of people are like, why didn't you just quit? And I'm like, that's not going to happen. I think so there were 6 women in my class, which that's not weird to me. Like I said, I've been the only girl like so many times. I definitely don't care. But I am hyper feminine. That's just who I am. It doesn't mean I can't shoot a gun and pass all the PT tests, but I have long blonde hair. I like fashion. I wear makeup. Like, if you don't like that, that's a you problem, like not a me problem. But he had a big problem with that. Like, had a huge problem with that. And the amount of sexual harassment that I underwent was pretty bad, but I refused to quit. I mean, why would I do that? You know?
So that make you tough?
What?
That make you tough?
I think I've always been, you know, if you look at the agency and what I did there.
I get that, but I'm just asking, that didn't help you at all?
Like, did it just help you even more?
Like, now, if you had to go back and be an instructor and you had somebody bitching and complaining about going through something after you went through the worst parts of it yourself, like and passed it and took it, no matter what they were throwing at you to throw you off your game. And as a little sexual harassment from somebody throws you off your game, you've been overseas, you know what, they're worse.
They're not, though. That's the thing.
I'm talking about if you get hemmed up. I've been there.
Yeah.
You can stick up for them all you want, but I know what happens sometimes. And when some girls, if they're not used to that, and that's all it takes to throw them off their game, I'm not saying he was right. I'm just saying that if it's a possibility that it can happen to you and you get trained in it, when you and successfully made it through like you did, turn around if you ever have to be an instructor.
The difference is like, look, I've been around men who were making so many inappropriate jokes and so many inappropriate, but it was never like mean and vicious and vindictive, like ever. I just more thought it was funny and just like literally carried on with my day. Yeah. Right. Like, I'm not hypersensitive to that stuff at all. I've never been. This was different. Yeah. This was, you'll be a good agent on your knees under my desk.
Oh,
this
shit.
was, we don't like the way you look in your pants. It makes us uncomfortable. Can you write a letter apologizing for the way you look? That's super different than like an inappropriate like sex joke. Do you see, like,
no, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. There is a difference. 100%. Sure.
And I had never experienced that with the guys before. Like in the past, it was just all like jokes and whatever. Like it was, I don't know. It was just, it wasn't that.
Sure. That's how you can tell somebody gets in that didn't earn that position.
Yeah.
It was bad.
So did he get in trouble or did you file any complaints with him? No.
All right,
so obviously, you know, I look back and I should have, but I graduated and I went to the LA field office to the Santa Ana resident agency. And they didn't put me in counterterrorism there. They put me working Chinese counterintelligence.
Wait, what year is this?
2005.
Okay.
And I liked it a lot. It was really fun. But the sexual harassment continued. And I think I had just become like so numb to it that I told my dad a few things that some of the people had said. And that's when he was just like, you need to leave. Like, and that's when I quit at that point. So I guess I'm a quitter.
So no, not at all.
No.
So,
hey, this team never quit. Don't worry about it. That's not what that is at all.
So you experienced it from different people within the Bureau? Mm-hmm. It wasn't the same guy that was doing it when you first went in?
Nope.
That's so crazy.
The Bureau's going through some tough times.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Look.
You guys probably know this about Marcus and Morgan, that they've got tattoos pretty much all over their arms, but you probably didn't know that the rest of the crew does too. So myself and John, our video guy, we're both rocking a lot of tattoos. People don't realize it because mainly we're not on video that often and we're not really the selfie types. But tattoos are definitely like a part of the culture, I feel like, around T&Q and just kind of obviously the crew that we hang out with. I've got quite a few tattoos. I think I've talked a little bit about my one that's misspelled, failure raves the way for creativity. But one of my other favorite tattoos is one on my left arm, which is actually kind of like a tree of life. And it starts at the left arm, moves all the way to the chest. It kind of shows the different seasons of life. And it's accompanied by a Bible verse, Psalms 1. And it's just one of my favorite tattoos. But one of the things about having tattoos is that over time, they start to fade. They start to look a little weak. Maybe we forget to go back to the studio and get them touched up. And there is not been a lot of products that I've tried that have helped me make my tattoos look better. I mean, I've tried regular lotion and it doesn't do anything. So when Mad Rabbit reached out to us to try some of their products, I was pretty blown away. You have got to check them out. They're called Mad Rabbit. They're committed to reinventing tattoo aftercare. Founded by two friends with a passion for ink, Mad Rabbit creates simple, effective, and natural products that help improve the healing process and preserve tattoos, all delivered directly to your door. Their hero product is a tattoo bomb, and this stuff revitalizes, replenishes, and proactively preserves tattoo ink. It's effective on both new and old tattoos and all skin types. That's the part that I was excited about. The fact that I could use this on my old tattoos to give them a little bit of pizzazz, a little love, show them some attention that they oh so deserve, make them look better. They use all natural ingredients, only 8 ingredients at that. So forget the days of ingredients you can't pronounce. With Mad Rabbit, you know what you're putting on your body is truly all natural. Plus, they've got products you need for all your tattoo care. So from a tattoo sunscreen to a soothing gel and more, they have got it all. Now, another product that I saw that they have, it was featured on their homepage, is this stuff called Mad Relief. It is their new numbing cream, which will help you sit longer in the chair pain-free. So if you're thinking about getting a new tattoo or maybe your first tattoo and you've been a little bit hesitant because you weren't so sure about that, hey, maybe you could check that product out too. I have loved using Mad Rabbit. So are the guys. I know I asked Morgan about it and he said his tattoos look a lot better now too. Ever since I started using Mad Rabbit, people have been making a lot more compliments about how good my tattoos look. So when you think tattoo care, think Mad Rabbit. They've preserved over 1.5 million tattoos, and right now they've got an exclusive offer just for our Team Never Quit listeners. If you go to Mad...
And I can only talk about my lived experience, right? Like not every agent there is like that. Like that's truly, not, but I liked the work I did, but it made me realize that we have some work to do. And so that's when I sort of got into teaching, was I went and got my master's in education and I started teaching. But what I started realizing was that the young ladies had a lot of questions about my career. So I started the first class for high school students on national security, foreign policy, and law enforcement. And then I started teaching at an all-girls school. And my class became full every single year. So I started having to add more and more and more and more sections of it. And now I've had over 60 girls go into these careers: military, CIA,
awesome.
FBI, Homeland Security. And to me, that's my way of not quitting and making a difference is that, look, I've had these two careers. One of the ways that we can enact change is by exposing more women to these careers and showing them how they can have them, and maybe sort of leveling out the gender narrative a little bit.
That's amazing that you do that.
Mm-hmm. That's a bit, it's almost as if we're transitioning out of that world into the teaching world. It feels right.
Well, so the FBI, this is what I say. CIA taught me what I want to teach. FBI taught me who I want to teach. That's how I view it.
And what, life taught you how to teach it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, we had to road test this. When we went in, I remember when all this kicked off, it was like an uncertainty. I mean, yeah, we knew what to do in the situation, but we didn't know what the situation that was going to present itself. So we had to step. Yeah, you never do, right? That's the surprise. And then over time, you just get battle tested in that over and over again until you get that repetitive motion. And then teaching it back to the kids. I think the cool part was learning the little tricks in between. I instead of you having to get your ass kicked like this over and over again, I'm just going to tell you this is how it goes down, and I can give you an example of it now. And there's so much value in that.
I think there's so much value in it, and I think too, I am a tough cookie, but I've always been a tough cookie. I mean, I was bullied. I have parents who are definitely no nonsense people, right? This is how I was raised, right? And so I think part of it is that those careers agreed with me because that's who I am. I'm not like a kid gloves kind of person who gets my feelings hurt, easily.
So is
but
that
that's
one
just
of the things,
who I am, right?
Is that one of the things that you address too?
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
But I don't know. I guess I found my passion and my calling now.
I think it's powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it earlier when you were growing up because you thought you were weak. And I mean, the ones that don't look like they're supposed to be in that part, they can teach you. I mean, with all right. The best is when you know somebody and then you're kind of sitting there and you hear something in conversation about them. It completely changes the way you look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you and I just haphazardly were sitting around somewhere and I didn't know, maybe I'm talking about without conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look over and she's like, oh, that's the girl that worked the desk for when terrorism, you just start kicking up and the whole, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, of course you are.
Sometimes that sucks because people will say, oh, you're just a teacher. Like you're just a teacher. But I almost feel like then I have to like front load the other two things I did sometimes.
Oh, get over that now. That's an ego messing with you there. Come on. I do that too.
I don't. But that's why I actually never mention them because then as a female, like a lot of times people don't want to be my friend because it's very off-putting to them. Like what I used to do. Because
you're more badass
I'm
than
in
they
this
are.
weird place, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think you're incredible.
Yeah. So how do you play it? I mean, you are a CIA operative. You can go undercover, right? You don't tell anybody. You should be really good at that.
Yeah.
That is very true.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, you're the best trained thing we got down here. If you can't get that done, we're in trouble.
Super true.
I think everything you've done is super admirable. And whether you say it or not to, whoever you're talking to and they think you're just a teacher, what you've been through comes out.
Yeah, you got to see. We have to see that.
The actions
I mean, there
come out.
has to be one person that goes through that. You got chosen. I mean, there has to be a pillar if you're going to set one so everyone can follow to have something to identify. That we were talking about that the other day with one of our kids. And it was like, so do you want to have the written word down or something to look at? Remember that? Or just to try? I was like, man, if you have something I can identify. Like, man, she went through that. She took that. Not only that, man, she can teach it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's important for sure.
Yeah, I think one also too, I'm trying to help. I mean, yes, I teach, but I'm also, I don't know if people realize this, but if you're CIA, you are not privy to the same kinds of benefits that veterans are, because you're not considered a veteran, right? And so like they don't get mental health care and they don't get, it's really sad. And so I actually had a little bit of success. I randomly, in a shot in the dark, emailed my Senator Cornyn's office.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he's one of my senators, and they've had like Zoom meetings with me twice to sort of like discuss this issue. And so it matters to me, right? Because I think there's a lot of folks that went through stuff, and I'm fortunate. I'm in a financial position that we can pay, like to go to counseling or, whatever it is you need to do. But they don't get mental health care. And that sucks.
I didn't know
especially when you're if you're putting young girls into this, path, you want them to be taken care of.
Of course.
And so that's awesome that you're taking the time to even make that change or try to make that change with our government when you know what they need. And if they don't have it, you can help get it for them.
Trying. I don't know how much success I'll have, but who knows?
Well, our Texas boys be able to swing that. They better be able to, especially for those who got attached to us. Like if you're CIA and you got attached to us, and those guys and girls that did, they got busted up bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, real bad.
We did.
There ought to be that little 70s and 80s babies little venture right there. You can just push them in there because there's one team, one fight.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Well, I know we've had you for an hour now, but I want to hear the trunk story if you can tell it.
Oh, yes, the trunk story.
I'm trying to hear the trunk story.
So yes, the trunk story. I was on my way to debrief a terrorist. I'll use it in that language.
Mm-hmm.
And typically when we would drive in this particular country, it's not a good idea for women to be in the car, even though I covered, completely. It's just not a good idea. And particularly the guy that I was with, like, there just really wasn't any way of making it seem like he wasn't a white dude. Like, he had red hair, fair skin. It just wasn't
white.
No, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, right.
Just wasn't a way to do that. And so he put me in the trunk, like to get from like where our particular little station camp was set up to where we needed to go. And he was like trying to talk to me, but I couldn't hear him like through the truck. So we stopped the car on the side of the road in a place where like no one could see us, got out, opened up the trunk just a little bit, kind of knelt down and was trying to like tell me what to expect in meeting with this particular terrorist. So, it was a meeting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Removing the environment, it was completely normal. Just completely normal chin wank.
It was
Completely normal. Throw the environment in there now, and that changes
Oh
everything.
my gosh. That's so
yes,
crazy.
that's
a good
the
one.
trunk meeting
That's a
that
good
I
one.
had.
Oh my gosh.
If you're looking for a bank that actually is going to be there for you when you need them to be there for you, then you guys know you need to be thinking about Navy Federal Credit Union. They're an incredible sponsor of the podcast. And when you become a member of Navy Federal Credit Union, life gets better. You guys know if you've ever bought a car, that can be an incredible daunting experience. From the sleazy sales experience to the stress of the financing department, it can be overwhelming. And that is why they created a fully loaded car buying experience to make that process much easier, much more enjoyable. You can finance, buy, protect, and enjoy your auto purchase all from one convenient place. They have a pre-approval that is good for 90 days, so you know what you can afford while you're still shopping. They offer great auto loan rates, and you can shop for new and used cars with Navy Federal's car buying service powered by TrueCar. You also can get exclusive member savings with Carfax, SiriusXM, and more, and they're always available with 24/7 member service representatives ready to answer any questions. You can learn more at NavyFederal.org/car buying. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Navy Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. So how can we help you? Can you tell people how they can get your book and
Follow
what
you,
you're
find
doing
you.
now?
Yeah. Help you, support you, all that.
So you can get my book anywhere, Amazon, any of those big places. And then I started an open Instagram page, The Unexpected Spy, where I sort of take my teaching and I take like complex national security and foreign policy issues. I think, not to be too blunt, I'm really sick of like the political slant on a lot of these issues. So I try to take the issues, I boil them down to 1 minute, and I explain to the audience, like, this is what this means, or this is what this is, in very apolitical, quick fashion, so you can get your news like that way. So I started that. I don't have that many followers, but I try.
I follow you.
Yeah.
I love
No,
it. And
yeah.
that's why I reached out to you, because I love having non-biased news.
I don't know any place to really get it. So I just thought, well, I'll just break. And then some people got mad at me because I did post about like Mar-a-Lago, but like I had to, it was in the news. I don't know what you want me to do. Right. And so then I just like broke it down. This is what classification means.
Well, thank you so much for
Cindy.
coming on, and we will
Bless you.
promote your Instagram and your book and your new YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm going to get myself one.
You already got the greatest name for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it just writes itself.
Right.
If it's not already taken.
Oh, we'll find
Well,
whoever that is and scare the mess out of them. and interrogate
Make
them.
sure you get it like today before this
Yeah.
releases.
We'll handle that for you, girl. Don't worry.
Well, thank y'all so
All right.
much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Bless you. Have
Bye.
a great day.
Have a good day.
You too.
She's awesome. Man.